I didn't even like the first generation MR2 until a manga called Overrev, and then that made me start to enjoy them a little bit more. I then picked this Survivor car up for an absolute steal of a price at the time, and it very quickly became one of my dream cars. Growing up, I always loved the second gen MR2 because it looked more like a Ferrari. And with that flashiness, you know, when you're a young kid, it's exotic, it's cool, it looks flashy. And this, at the time when I was a kid, I didn't care for too much because it was a little too boxy, it looked old, and everything like that. So it wasn't my first go-to choice. And when I got the chance to buy my first car, my 1994 Mazda Miata, I could have bought one of these for the same price I bought the Miata for. And not only one of these, but specifically the supercharged version, which is becoming even more increasingly rare, and prices are just going through the roof. It's bonkers right now. There was one that was absolutely mint that just went for, I think, $72,000. I'll find it, I'll put it here. Absolutely bonkers for an MR2, an 88, 89 MR2. And yeah, going for $72,000 for something that makes 144 horsepower. Yeah, we have kind of a little bit of a problem. But yeah, I didn't care for them at that point in time, and continually read this manga, Overrev, and just slowly fell in love with the character and the character arc, the story, and where the whole thing went. So as I was looking for MR2s at the time, I was like, I have to find one that's supercharged. At this time when I started looking, I couldn't find a supercharged one under 12. Then I couldn't find NA ones for under 6. And I was like, man, and this time I wasn't making nearly as much money as I am now. So finding one of these in mint condition was going to be a task. It's going to be a very, very large task, or you'd have to have a lot of money, which at the time I didn't have any of. So I kept scouring Marketplace, and I was like, I'm going to find one. I'm going to make it happen. And lo and behold, supercharged prices got up to like $30,000. The NA ones got up to about 12, which is still about where they're at right now. And I was like, nope, I can't afford one. I'm never gonna be able to get one of these things. So I gave up, absolutely 100% gave up. And this was back in 2021. So I stopped my search. Took a few months off from my search, or whatever, I should say that. I just randomly went on Facebook Marketplace one day. And I was like, one last time. And I go on there, and I find this MR2. And I'm like, huh, what is this? This is everything I've been looking for. I wanted to settle at this point because I couldn't find a supercharged one. I was like, I'm gonna get an NA one with hardtop, settle for that. I wanted a hardtop one. And lo and behold, there it is. He had it up for $8 grand. And I was like, that's the cheapest I'm gonna find it. But I was like, the guy, I messaged the guy and I was like, hey, this is one of my dream cars for the longest time. I'm gonna completely lowball the hell out of you. I'm so sorry. And you can 100% tell me to fuck off. And I was like, I literally have $2,500, but I really want this. And I was like, I know you're probably gonna tell me no, but what do you think? Funny enough, he didn't say no. What he did say was, I couldn't do 2,500. The worst I could do is 3,500. And I was like, I don't know if I can get another grand. And he was like, or I was like, could you do 3,250? And he's like, come take a look at the car and we'll make this plan. And I was like, all right. So load up the Escalade, load up the trailer, everything I'm gonna need, ratchet straps, all of it, and go and look at it. And it's everything I want. And it's one of these ran when parked situations. So I was like, you know what? I talked him down from 8 grand to 3,250. I can deal with it. I can deal with it. So, still picked it up and brought it over to my friend's house. Greatest thing ever. So, bring it over to my friend's house. There's coilovers in this thing. Some Olin's coilovers are probably worth like 3-4 grand. And I ended up selling them because I didn't want coilovers. Now I have another MR2 and I regret that. But we're not going to talk about that. Him and I, we start messing with everything and throw a battery in it. Starts right up. Dies 30 seconds later because he was running a very specific engine duct that I do still have for it that attaches and replaces this whole B-pillar trim, C-pillar trim, whatever you want to call it. And it has a duct, and you're supposed to have these louvers that go across it. And basically it removes the engine cover, removes these, it removes this trim, and it goes right here. And it's supposed to help cool the engine bay down. It was used on race cars. And he just had it on, open, so the engine was just getting water and everything like that. And so I was like, huh. Well, end up pulling the valley cover where the spark plugs are, which is just right in between the two valve covers. They just call it the valley cover. It's just filled with water. And I was like, oh, that's probably why it died. So spend the next 15, 20 minutes soaking everything up. Getting all the water out, getting an air compressor in there, and blasting everything dry. I put everything back together, started up again, and it starts right up, dies again, and then started up again, and then it just stays running. And I was like, wow, this thing's running smooth. And then, you know, look at the temps. Temps are staying good, oil pressure looks good. Everything's just looking great. And I was like, man, this is freaking great. But battery light's on. And I was like, well, I bet it needs an alternator because it's been sitting out in the rain, in the elements, that the alternator's just cooked. So it was a very, very interesting thing. I then hop in it because I want to take it for a test drive. And this is my first experience in a mid-engine vehicle. I had the concept of how to drive a mid-engine vehicle, but no one tells you how to drive a mid-engine vehicle slow, or how it's going to feel when you drive a mid-engine vehicle slow. So I'm used to just watching racing videos on that. They're like, do this, do that, do this, do that. And I'm like, I know what to do, but what they don't tell you is how weird it is. And I mean, I remember driving this thing just in a straight line, and I'm like, this is absolutely the weirdest feeling in the entire world. Everyone else that's hopped in this thing, they're like, I can hear the engine behind me, that's cool. That wasn't the first thing I noticed. I noticed how weird it drove. And I'm like, there's no weight over the front end. These things have no power steering, but I'm like, I can feel the fact that there is zero weight on the front end of this vehicle. And the steering's so light, and it's just, it feels so nimble. I was like, that was like one of the first things I'd ever said. I was like, it's so weird. It's so nimble. I was like, I feel like this handles almost just as well as my Miata that I've put coilovers on, sway bars, and like bigger wheels and tires on. I'm like, I feel like this thing just can do that just by itself without having to do anything. And that's kind of how these MR2s handle. And I feel like it's just because they're mid-engined. I'm not sure. But absolutely crazy feeling to drive one of these for the first time. Just in my opinion. I then take it back to my friend's house. You know, I do all the stuff to it. I then go to work the next day and, you know, plan on getting title stuff all sorted out. I then get spark plugs, I get an alternator, I get oil change stuff, transmission fluid stuff. I'm like, I want to do everything. Because whenever I get a new car, I always want to replace all the fluids in it, just so I know it's been done. The only thing I didn't do on this was coolant, which it's now been done, but yeah. So I did everything, and I drove it for exactly 1 year. I have pictures. At my work, I drove it to work August 11th, 2021. Exactly 1 year later, August 11th, 2022, the brakes failed and I rear-ended someone. It was tough going through that because I'm like, this was a perfect car. And by perfect, I mean, for the price point, it had no rust. Body lines are all perfect. No damage. Paint needed to be redone, but there's nothing wrong with that. It showed its age very well. And I took that and I destroyed it. But it is now, obviously, in the current process of making a big comeback, as you can see. Everything mismatched. So white fender, white headlight lid, black hood, everything else is silver. She's repairable. But I feel like it's had a good time with me. So that's why I'm giving this to my brother. Because I feel like for him, it's going to be a great first car. And I won't feel nearly as bad it being his first car. And if, you know, it gets door dinged in a parking lot, someone backs into him, he sends it too hard in a corner and hits a curb. I don't know. Like, it's gonna be a great first car for him. And that's why I won't feel bad for letting it go to him. And also I have the K-swapped MR2 now. So that one's gonna be my baby for a bit. Phil, I hope you're watching this. Don't worry, I have stuff coming your way soon. The biggest thing is I didn't give up on it. I knew I had to fix it. I had to make this right. I had to redeem myself for what had happened. And it's been a long and very tough process. The front end of these things are an absolute nightmare to get apart, but it's something I didn't want to quit on. And I didn't quit on this body. And that's kind of where that slogan comes from with this vehicle. I didn't quit on this body because I knew it had so much life left in it. And I was like, worst case scenario, if I have to, I will find a wrecked car that has had the rear end gone, and I will remove the front clip off of this and replace it with a good front clip. And I was like, I will do everything to make this right. But thankfully with the people at my collision center and their mastery, we've been able to, you know, make it quite a bit better. So thanks to all of them, this thing will, you know, hit the road in one piece instead of, you know, missing the front bumper and stuff like that. But yeah, I hope this has been an interesting video for you guys to watch on the story of how I acquired the MR2 and everything like that. And I hope it, you know, inspires you guys to keep going on something that maybe you guys messed up, damaged, something like that. And you can comment down below something that maybe you're going through, went through, and working toward to make better. So hope you guys did enjoy this. Please like, subscribe, share, and remember, don't quit on a body that won't quit.